Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast it's the football podcast, the aptly named football podcast. Everybody's here this week, so we've got a lot of games to get through, we've got a lot of predictions to talk about. Whether it's last week's predictions or it's this coming week's predictions, there's a lot to talk about predictions wise. Not only that, there's a lot to talk about news wise, so we should probably get cracking. Before we do, just a reminder, if you're checking us out on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcast, a little click of the subscribe button means a lot to us, and we'll send you a virtual hug. Anyway, let's get cracking. So here we go. This is CookieCast, the football podcast.
Recording in progress.
She's not wrong, or at least I think she isn't. Anyway, for you lovely, I don't want to call you my favourites, but you know, for you YouTube watchers, you can see three lovely faces here right now. But for you audio listeners, all you can hear is my terrible voice. So, obviously it's the football podcast, because, you know, that bit's in the title. But other than that, who could be here? Is Matt here this week, and will he give us a prediction? Let's find out. Matthew, are you here?
I am here.
There he is. So, what could be better than the host of the Pursuit of Happiness podcast being here? Could it be the host of the Getting Over podcast, Stuart Woodmansey? Are you here, sir?
I am both in mind, body, and potentially spirit. However, I don't think it's late enough for spirits just yet.
Don't worry, we'll take care of that. And, I mean, at this point in time, he's aiming to break the world record for number of podcasts he actually hosts. The host of the football podcast, Paul Williams, are you here?
Unlike Stu, I'm only here in body, neither mind nor spirit. But we'll get to that later on in the This Week in Football.
It's been teased, ladies and gentlemen. It's been teased that something's afoot. And let's face it, if there's one man that doesn't know what that might be, it's me. So it's going to be a surprise to me, if not to you. Stay tuned for that. So, let's get started then. Let's get cracking. Let's talk football. International break. How was that for everyone?
Shit.
Yeah.
Never enjoyed the international break. Obviously, it's slightly different for me, as I do technically have a team I can follow in the international break because they normally don't play. So I just look for the pool's results instead. They did get a win. Lovely stuff. But we didn't predict that, did we? So let's not dwell on the pools games. Let's just jump straight into the England game from last Saturday.
Andorra versus England.
Andorra versus England. It was at the National Stadium of Andorra, which probably holds about 85,000 people, yeah?
I mean,
85 people, I think it is.
85 firefighters.
Yeah, well, I was going to say there was an interesting happening before the game where Sky Sports were doing a little bit of coverage from inside the stadium, which looked lovely and neat, I suppose is the thing. And the camera just pans to the left to see where the gantry is. Huge fire. Just part of the stadium just on fire. Apparently they even said, if you look up to the top right-hand corner of that picture, a woman's just come out to take her washing in from the block of flats connected to the stadium.
Should have left it out. They would have dried quicker.
Yeah, but they smelled of bonfire. What's the good there? To put them straight back in the wash. So yeah, obviously they managed to get it under control pretty quickly as the game went ahead as scheduled. I believe it ended Andorra 0. Shock. England 5.
So I spoke about this earlier this evening where I said I feel like we needed Matt's prediction. Because of the three of us who predicted, I think conservatively we could say heavily in England's favour, nobody predicted a 5-0 or a 0-5.
Just to kind of like thinking, I would have gone 6. That's what my prediction would have been 6.
We were already covered there, weren't we, Paul?
Yes, sir.
Paul.
Yes, Andrew.
Offhand, can you name the 5 England goal scorers?
So, off the top of my head, I believe I know Ben Chilwell got the last one.
Correct.
First one.
Oh, I thought did you not get the last? Was he the first?
First one.
Ben Chilwell got the first. I know Jack Grealish got one.
The last.
Sick. I know that Tammy Abraham got one. I know that James Ward-Prowse got one. And I believe that Bukayo Saka.
Saka Souffle did also.
Or the 5th. Or not the 5th, but one of the 5.
Did also get one. Now, at this point in time, I can reveal Paul 0-6, Stu 0-4, and even this guy was like, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. A 0-2. Points on the board. Nobody gets the full points, but everybody does get a point. Now, Paul, I'm going to come back to you for a reason here. You correctly named all of the 5 goal scorers. Can you name, of the 6 goal scorers you predicted, which of those match up?
What?
So, Chilwell, Saka, Abraham, Ward, Prowse, and Grealish.
Yeah.
So, which of those did you predict of your 6 goal scorers?
Abraham.
Incorrect.
I put him down, didn't I?
Incorrect.
Oh, this is bad. Ward-Prowse.
Incorrect.
I think I see where this is going.
Do you? You do.
Grealish?
Grealish? Incorrect. Paul Williams.
Who did I write? So who did I pick?
Paul Williams managed to negotiate his way through all of the players on the England team.
I picked Lingard, didn't I?
And missed every single one of the goal scorers.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Did Paul pick 6 separate players?
No. Now that's the other thing. He did put a player down to score 2.
Lingard, I think.
No.
What? This is.
You're not even good at predicting your own predictions, are you?
I'll be honest, Paul. I was only asking that because I was kind of worried that you'd literally picked more than half of a football team and still didn't get one.
It's got to be some kind of, I need a statistician. If only there was one in my house. So, Paul, your week so far is 1 point. I almost hate to do this to you. Stu, you predicted a 0-4. So you actually did predict 4 individual goal scorers. And you got 3 of them right. You know what's coming. Because I predicted 2 goal scorers. And even I got one of them right. 4 points to Stu for the
I
week.
didn't predict, and I got 2 of them right as
Yeah,
well.
Matt didn't predict anything. He got 2. I got 2 points. Paul got 1. It can only get better from there, I hear you say. Absolutely incorrect. Because mere moments ago, England finished up playing against Hungary. And I don't want to spoil anything. But who would like to tell me what the score in the England-Hungary game was?
It finished England 1, Hungary 1.
Yeah, so anybody predict a draw in that? No, nobody predicted a draw in that game. It's bad news, I'm afraid, because who scored the goals?
Roland Salai scored a penalty for Hungary. I'm assuming that's how you pronounce it. He's not here to tell me otherwise. And John Stones scored for England.
So, Matt is posting 0 points across the board because he didn't predict. Unfortunately, so were the rest of us because we didn't predict a draw. We did all put England down to win, so there's that added disappointment. And you know it, nobody put Stones down to score for England. So, 0 points for all involved. That leaves us with a weak score, a very weak score. Paul with 1 point, Stu with 4 points, Matt with 0, and myself with 2, making Stuart Woodmansey this week's winner. I'm starting to think that this might be a little bit of a trend. Let me quickly... last week Stu won. Week before Stu won. Yeah, it's beginning to look a lot like, well, Stu's doing well in the predictions week in, week out. Now then, that's those games done. That's it. That's all there was. There was just 2 England games, international break. But that international break has ended. It's over. It's done. And what that means is 6 games to predict for the upcoming week. 6 games. Beautiful stuff. Do you want to do this week's predictions? Get them out of the way. Fire them off before we start.
I think it's probably best to do the predictions and then we'll come to what happened as it was now last week, which has just ruined football for all eternity, basically.
I mean, that sounds cheerful.
I'm going to surprise you. I'm a cheery fellow at the moment, and I always like to find that.
You're in bloody ground zero.
I always try to find that little black and white lining around the cloud that kind of, reminds you it is Newcastle that we're involved with right now. So it can only go one.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the sound of not one member, but 2 members of the podcast clearly jumping the gun.
It's called a teaser. Teaser.
Tenterhooks right now. I'm salivating. To satiate me, let's talk Huddersfield Town versus Hull City. The way it works.
A Yorkshire derby. A Yorkshire derby to start the week.
The way it works is I write things down in a book, and then we look back next week to see how far away from the actual goals and goal scorers we were. So, I have very quickly gone through and put my predictions in. If it's your team, you pick last. So it generally leaves a rolling situation where the other two have to flip a coin and decide who goes first. And I'll pepper mine in sporadically. So, Stu will go last. Matt and or Paul, who wants to take first crack, first game of the week?
I don't mind having a little run at this one.
Here he goes.
Paul can have it.
So,
Say, Paul can remind me how it goes.
there we go. So, obviously, Hull coming off a fantastic win in their last game against what you can only presume must have been a really, really stellar team to be able to beat them. No, it was the dross that's based up in Teesside. I reckon they'll keep the momentum going with a 1-1 draw away at Huddersfield. I'll adopt my own rule and go for the curse of the old boy to strike. Fraser Campbell to score for Huddersfield, please.
Okay.
If he's playing, don't know. He's probably injured. I'd say he's probably one of those players who's been injured for about 75% of his career. So,
since he put that cross in at Wembley, I think was the. We'll not talk about that.
What's that? 13 years ago.
Well, yeah.
So Fraser Campbell to get the goal for Huddersfield. Of Hull County ex-Huddersfield players in their squad. I will go for Lewis Potter to score the Hull goal.
Okay. I agree with Paul. I think Hull are going to be riding high from recent victories. So I've gone with a 1-0 to Hull. I have also gone for Lewis Potter to score because, let's face it, I only know two people that play for Hull. And this week I'm using Lewis Potter. Matt.
I'm going to bring it down on proceedings. I've gone for a 2-1 win for Huddersfield.
Okay.
And I've gone for Ward and Toffolo to score for Huddersfield, and Lewis Potter to score for Hull.
Okay, Stu, tell us what's really going to go down in this game.
What's just to keep it cross-pollinated across the pursuit of hoppiness, live from the John Smith Stadium in the town that is home to Magic Rock. I am going.
Is it still the John Smiths?
According to Sky, it is. I am going to bring it down further by saying that Huddersfield will score 2 goals and Hull will score none. Correct.
Wow.
I'd like them to do exactly the opposite of what I'm predicting. But
reverse psychology. I like where you're going.
I'm going also for Ward and for Koroma because of the 2 beer thing, and it was the nearest one to Corona. So.
My Corona.
Mm-hmm. And if that's not a crowd chant, we're claiming that after this weekend.
I love it. So, as previously mentioned, the Teesside team are up against Peterborough United. Middlesbrough are taking on Peterborough United. Paul will pick last. Tell you what, I'm going to go first. I'm feeling good about this game. I feel, international break, it's like a week off. Come back fresh, come back raring to go. I've gone 2-0 Middlesbrough. Wait for Paul to fall off his chair. What might be more surprising is I've gone with a couple of unusual, for me, goal scorers. Sporar and Crooks to score a goal each.
also gone for 2-0 to the Borough of Middlesbrough,
Really?
not the Borough of Peterborough. Because I nearly wrote in my book Borough, and I was like, I'd get confusing really quick. And I've gone for Watmore and Ikpitsu.
Lovely stuff. Stu?
Not quite as optimistic as you guys in the now newly dubbed Battle of the Boroughs. But I have gone for a 2-1 home win with Howson and Watmore to score for Middlesbrough and Dembele to score for Peterborough. As I may or may not have mentioned to Paul already, after seeing him play in person, I am never picking Tavernier to score again.
He did indeed mention it.
Go on, Paul. Tell us the real deal.
Actually, he's the homer to pick her. So... Lost against Blackpool, promoted side. Lost against Hull, promoted side. Fuck it, why not? Let's go for the Trinity. 0-1.
0-1.
Would not surprise me at all. It's a typical Borough. They'll probably lose this one, and then I can't remember who it is they've got the week after.
Barnsley.
Yeah, they'll go beat Barnsley like 8-0, or they'll wait until they're playing Fulham later on in the season and they'll smash them 7 or something like that. Just typical Borough. The one bright spot that might come out of it, like, if they do lose to Peterborough, there's no way Warnock can stay. That's the sort of the one trade-off I'd say that potentially might keep the Borough fans on side. If they lose, there's no way he'll be still in a job the following week.
Oh dear.
No way.
I've heard this before.
It won't. There's no way.
No way Bailey will.
Yeah, granted, it's the phrase that's been heard the most on the podcast out of my lips. But yeah, he can't lose to all 3 promoted teams and keep his job. That's just unacceptable. The money that was spent in the summer, like both on permanents and loan deals, even Gibson's not that stupid. So I'll take that as the trade-off. They'll lose this one, but then they actually get a decent manager who knows what the fuck he's doing. So.
Goal scorer.
I think their top scorer last season was a guy called Johnson Clark Harris, but he hasn't really hit the ground running yet this season, so that'd probably be a usual Borough tactic as well. Have a guy who hasn't scored for fucking years, get the goal. It'll probably come off his left bollock as well.
Shall I put you down for that as a full prediction?
Please, if you won't mind, yeah. 89th minute winner off the testicles.
Johnson.
And he'll go to head it, but he'll fall over and it'll basically just nut shot him and go in the net.
Has Paul just actually predicted somebody called Johnson to score with their bollocks? Is that what's just happened here?
Johnson.
It's the double whammy, as it will be.
Double wangy.
Yeah, exactly. Well, in previous seasons it would have been a casual wingy banger, but
let's leave that one.
we'll leave the public to put 2 and 2 together.
Wanger banger. Nottingham Forest are taking on Blackpool. Blackpool has had a mention already, but Nottingham Forest are going to take on Blackpool, and we're here to tell you what we think is going to happen in this game. Stu?
Short and sweet, 1-0 Graben.
Look at that. Look at that. I like what you're throwing down there, Stu. I do like it. But I'm going to add a goal. 1-1 Graben Yates. Just for that reason. Paul?
stick me down for 2-0.
Mm.
And I will have Zinkernagel and Mighton.
Love it. Matt, what's really going to go on in the Nottingham Forest Blackpool game?
I've gone 2-0 as well. And Johnson and Lolly.
This has got to be a podcast first. Like, seriously, like, borrowing from the rest of them on this for the first time ever. Has Matt gone for 2, 3, even 4 podcasts where he hasn't predicted a Forest loss?
Optimism.
This is unheard of.
You were wondering where I was last week. I was bathing naked in the Trent underneath the glow of the lights from the City ground. That's what I was doing.
Oh, beautiful! Such a lovely body of water, much like the Ouse in York.
Okay. Yeah, then I was treated for whatever that rat disease is.
Yeah, basically. every sort of waterborne disease going. Yeah.
Kinky. So, that is the weekend games. But the fun doesn't stop there. The football doesn't stop there. In fact, 3 more games to predict. Midweekers. We're starting where we finished. Because Nottingham Forest are back to take on my team. My boys. The Bristol City boys. Bristol City versus Nottingham Forest. So, here we go. In fact, F it. I'm going first. I've got Forest down.
You know you should be going last.
True. Either me or you should go last, but I just got to get it out there. I've got Forest down to win this one. Something you'll rarely hear me say. Just a 0-1. And let's face it, if he's going to score 60 goals this season, he's going to need to start putting them in the back of the net. Grab 'em. Paul, furnish me with an amazing prediction. 1-3. Thought you said 4 for a second. I was like, 7. 1-3.
1-3.
Love it.
He could have picked 7 goal scorers though and still got them all wrong, couldn't he? Like last week.
Oh, his squad is that big.
Let's not dwell on the past. Let's move on swiftly.
I'll go for the Coldplay frontman to get one himself, Chris Martin. Yeah, I knew Andy's face was just like, yeah, you're going to have to help me out here. I haven't got a clue. Surprisingly enough, ladies and gentlemen, Coldplay, not on Andy's list of favourite bands. I'll go for Graben to get 2.
Ooh.
And Johnson.
Stu.
Well, Paul has kind of stolen some thunder goal scorer wise, but I have gone for Bristol City 2, Nottingham Forest 2. So stick me down for a Desmond.
A Desmond. Love it.
Purely because I could think of no other reason. The goal scorer one of the goal scorers for Bristol City against the team of the northeasterly supporter on the podcast. So I've gone for Wyman. And I've also gone for Chris Martin to score, taking time out of his busy schedule of making music that sounds like it's on another planet or whatever bollocks he came out with this week. If you want to fuck off there, Chris Martin, you help yourself, lad. And also for Nottingham Forest, I have gone also for Johnson. Can never have too much Johnson. And Zinkernagel. Who knows? That could be German for Johnson, for all we know.
It's almost certainly that it is. Yeah.
If it's not normally, then it soon will be.
Yep, pretty much.
Matt.
I've gone for 2-2 as well. And I've gone for the revenge of an ex-Derby player, so Chris Martin with a double.
Love it.
And then Graben and Garner.
Wonderful stuff. So, getting Middlesbrough's sloppy seconds, as always, Hull City take on the other borough, Peterborough United. Paul.
Off the top of your head, Stu, can you remember what the game was last season?
Nope.
0-0.
Well, certainly makes my
I can remember what the game was last weekend, but we're not talking about that anymore, are we? Or the weekend before, should I say.
There we go, no bad. You got it wrong. You're a fool.
I can remember what the England score was as well, if we're being technical about that. And the goal scorers.
It's gone from stick into the cave and just a gentle prod to cattle prod hooked up to a car battery and just launching it like a javelin. Jeez.
Oh.
Wow. Okay. I got Hull City down to win this one. Everybody knows at this point in time, I love to back the home teams. Just a 1-0. Anybody want to guess who I put down for my goal scorer?
Wilkes.
Correct!
Does that mean we get points if he scores now as well?
Yeah, why not? That was amazing. I'm so happy right now. Matt.
I have also gone 1-0 to Hull. And I've gone McGuinness.
You'd never have guessed who he's picked for Hull's top goal scorer for the season, would you?
Go on, Stu.
I thought, I know we used the Honeyman joke, so I was like, I'll save that for give people a rest for a couple of weeks, and then I'll trot that one back out.
Nice and simple for me. I will cover the other base that you guys have missed on this occasion, and I will go for a 1-0 Hull, but Keane Lewis Potter. I very rarely predict him, so I know, Paul, it won't be an own goal off a goalkeeper this time either.
Honestly.
Get that blurry bit out.
Just you wait till I get him back to the river dance. Ooh. Can't wait to preside over a 0-1 89th minute boom fucking Hull goal or something like that. Just look at my head just proper just explode.
Foot fumble. Love it. Okay, so all that leaves us is the mighty Borough taking on the single most Yorkshire team ever. It's Barnsley. Barnsley. At this point in time, I'm trying to branch out. I'm trying to go outside the box. I'm trying to call back on all of my. It's not knowledge, is it? It's what's in between knowledge and knowing nothing. I want Middlesbrough down to win this heavily because they'll have a new manager by then. But I've got them down 2-0. Watmore and McNair. Come at me. Matt.
I've gone for Middlesbrough 1-0. And my scorer is, he's not a batter, he's a bowler. God, you like that one?
I think this would be the perfect point where we need the soundboard and the cricket noise. We're just impressed.
Love it. Stu?
I mean, let's not gloss over Paul's cricket joke there after Matt said batter and baller, but I've also gone for 1-0 Middlesbrough, but Crooks.
Go on, Paul. Let us know how it's really going to go down.
So we always like to close out the week with a bang, don't we? So let's do it. 4-0. Why the fuck not?
Oh, okay.
I mean, the answer is just because it's a Middlesbrough game. That is the answer that everyone should give. But
well, you're going the same way as me. With a new manager, they're going to...
I mean, at that point, it'd be the interim manager, so it'd be one of his assistants. So it'd be fucking Kevin Blackwell. Ugh, Christ almighty. But let's go for... So, I've picked a ridiculous score, so let's just go for some ridiculous goal scorers, shall we? Tavernier, as maintained by Stu, is woeful at finishing.
He's clearly going to score a hat-trick now that I've said that.
Probably. Even though he's apparently too foreign for a Neil Warnock team, I'll go for Piero to score.
Okay.
Isaiah Jones.
Okay.
And then Sparrow.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. All of the predictions for the upcoming week's games, both weekend and midweek, are in the book and are final. Cannot be changed. I will not accept bribes of any form, or apart from bank transfer. So, it's been teased. It's been tantalised. It's been hinted at. And here we are. We are at the segment of the podcast that's known as This Week in Football, where we talk football news that's happened since the last time we gathered here to talk football news. So, who wants to kick this one off? See what I did?
Well,
See what I did there?
as was alluded to by Mr. Woodmansey, our resident northeasterly based pundit, as it were, on this particular fine show, might have to fill us in on the shenanigans that have been ongoing since, was it Thursday of last week when the announcement was made?
I suppose when you look at it, so like after 14 years and 4 months, I think it was, on the local paper, there's a big picture of it on there, and obviously one failed takeover or appealed or cancelled or something like that, or Newcastle United were finally taken over by PIF or something like that. That's Saudi government, royal family based.
Yeah, I just do it as the Saudi group or whatever. But yeah, so that Newcastle got overtaken.
Yeah, 300 million, which I don't know, for me seems quite cheap. But then, you bought it from Mike Ashley, so you've been to his shops, and he does knock off stuff. So
he likes to offer cheap deals at knockdown prices. So yeah,
he likes to take over things that are in administration, and we'll come back to that in a minute.
The fact was that when they got overtaken, they overnight became the most wealthy club in the world, and it was something you might have these stats to hand to go through, but they worked out that if they were to combine all of the wealth of the Premier League teams total, Newcastle would have well over half of the wealth of all Premier League clubs.
Just look at the distance between. You look at the distance between them and Man City. So Man City, whoever owns Man City, I think they're worth 13 billion.
The average group,
and the people
I thought it was more than that. I thought the thing I saw said it was the Man City thing was something like 35.8 or something. It was quite high. Obviously, it's still nothing to be sneezed at. But then these Newcastle guys were
302 that we've lost.
It was excessive.
Yes.
I just think, of course, kind of everybody comes out of the woodwork and all this kind of things. And the problem is that we can't. I can sit here and you can get pious about it and stuff like that. But the same would happen at your own club when it kind of things is it's the Muppets that come out with we're going to do this, they're going to do that, they're going to buy this player, they're going to buy that player, they're going to buy Ronaldo. You just signed a 4-year contract with Manchester United. He's not going to sign fucking Newcastle. They're going to sign Messi. They're going to sign. And you're kind of like, they can only spend so much money. There's only so much money you can spend in a year. You've got to have sponsors. You've got to, and fair enough. I understand that. You can try and do old Uncle Mel shit with your football club, but you've got to spend it within the rules of the game. You can't just go and buy yourself. It's this ridiculous kind of thing of look at the team that we can buy. I've heard people saying, well, if Real Madrid offer Haaland £600,000 a week, we'll just offer him £700,000 a week. But he's still got to want to come and play for the club. And I don't care who you are or where you're from or what you kind of thing. And I like to think we have a kind of realistic view of our football clubs. But, Lionel Messi's not going to sign for Newcastle United. He might do when he's 44 and wants to milk that last kind of £1 million a week contract that he can, and somebody stupid enough will pay it to him. But he's not going to come and play for Newcastle now. Cristiano Ronaldo isn't. Name your player in world football now that's the top kind of 30 players, 50 players. They're not going to come and play for Newcastle because, Madrid, Barcelona, PSG, Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, you name a club, they want to play for them because they've been playing in the Champions League for 20 years. Newcastle dabbled in it 20 years ago and haven't been in it since.
It's all about the establishment and stuff like that. Like, I think apparently there was something that's come out in the last couple of days where apparently all of the current top 6 clubs tried to put through a block on the actual takeover going through. And obviously to them it's just a case of we don't want them having scraps from our top table and new team.
There's all sorts of. There was other blocks though as well, wasn't there? Because even because of it being a Saudi-based takeover, even Amnesty International got involved because of like the human rights records of Saudi Arabia. So I'm assuming the 6 people or 6 clubs that got involved, they haven't released the names of the people who proposed the block because otherwise there might be a bit of a rush on carrier bags and bin bags in Newcastle right now. Anyway, moving on. The thing about it's been since last Thursday. They're still undecided, aren't they, as to whether or not Steve Bruce is going to still be in charge as well. So that whole element just seems to be an absolute shit show still. But then
I'll be amazed if he's binned off straight away. You'd like to think that whoever they put in as like the sort of the chief exec or the chairman, chairwoman, chairperson, as it were, you'd like to think that they'd have at least a little bit of common sense to go, we're not football people. He's at least a football person, so has been in the position, should know the team that he's got to like sort of work with. We'll at least give him until December.
Yeah, but he's
out. And then obviously they should know that they've got the transfer window coming up where they can add players and maybe go with a new manager there and give him some like toys to play with and stuff like that.
Obviously, I'll always feel a bit sorry for him anyway because of his history with Hull. But as a bit of a random statistic, if he's still in charge against Spurs at the weekend, it'll be his 1000th game in management. So, and if he doesn't get it, he's going to get stuck on there for a while because I can't see anybody else taking him on. But I kind of see it.
He won't struggle to get a job.
I kind of see it from both sides though, because yes, he needs to, he will know the players and all the rest of it, but this instant boost of money means absolutely nothing for the team until January. So actually, he's done nothing with that team since the start of the season. So why not get somebody in new now to thin out the ones that he wants and doesn't want, and then come January, here's the checkbook, fill the gaps.
And I'm glad that he's been given not given time, and I'm not being snarky kind of thing. I'm not being I'm glad he's been given time, because maybe there'll be even more in the shit by the time they do actually get rid of him. But and that's not the kind. That's not really big. But he has taken, ever since he got the job, and I know he wasn't a popular person to get the job when he got it. I mean, he has taken some serious crap, and generally unnecessarily. It's not his fault that either they don't buy decent players, or it's everything kind of done the kind of Sports Direct Mike Ashley kind of company way of knock-off versions of what they want, what they get. And but he's kind of it's kind of not very often that I compliment things, but he's held himself with a certain level of dignity and a certain level of kind of going about his work and getting stuff done and turning up, and he's got a lot of grief, and the squad's not good, the players aren't good, a lot of them have been absolute flops, and he's carried on going under this kind of scrutiny of the moment something goes wrong, they're booing, the moment something even goes slightly awry, they're booing. The greatest fans in the world and whatever they want to call themselves, treated that bloke like crap. What? Because he was a Sunderland manager. The guy needs to work.
And
they didn't give him a job.
Sorry, man. Let's not forget as well. This guy is a self-proclaimed Newcastle fan outright. So that is a job that he has been linked to, certainly since his Hull days. And as you mentioned, he's had to take a lot of stick from the fans. He's had to work with a very difficult club owner. I mean, he had plenty of practice at that down here. So he was the perfect person really to go into that job at the time. Just because the position's changed now with how much they've got to spend. It's a difficult one. He's kind of seen him through a really rough patch, and realistically, Bruce for me is one of the managers that is put in. I mean, championship wise, sure, you might be all right, but he's never going to get you any more than a 10th for me in the Premier League. He's not there to set the league on fire. He's there to keep them in the division. And unfortunately for him, the fact that have they not won a game or something, but they're second bottom in the Premier League, it just so happened to come at the time when they've just been taken over. So of course there's going to be talk about him going straight away. But
I don't think he won't last till November. I don't think. I think he'll struggle to last to November. They'll probably want to get, like you said, they want to get the structure in. They want to get the new manager in so they can assess the squad or coach or whatever new thing they're going to kind of call it, and then go from there. Like I said, it's great. You can have all the money in the world, kind of thing. You can't spend it on players till January 1st. It doesn't matter. It's just burning a massive hole in your pocket.
Just for if you are listening along right now, I urge you to get yourself over to YouTube just to watch Matt's face when I mention this. But as the press always like to do, and the fact we've been talking about the fact that Bruce might get ousted from position, a couple of names, or three names, have been mentioned, but two in particular. So these people coming in who need to know football and all the rest of it, it's been touted that he may be replaced by either Steven Gerrard or Frank Lampard.
I saw that on Thursday.
You can have all the money in the world. Still doesn't give you any common sense.
It's what should we do? Let's give it to two managers that, let's face it, one of them managed a club that was chucking money at trying to get promoted, then tried to cover their tracks, and then when they didn't get promoted, he did one. to a club that he liked, that he wanted, used as a stepping stone, and the other one's been managing Rangers in Scotland, where it's Celtic and nobody else kind of thing. So crack on, mate. If they take those two on, brilliant. They'll be down by March.
Maybe they could run it like the England midfield, 10 years ago or whatever. Just do it on a job share. One of them works for a couple of days a week. One of them does the next two, because they ain't working together.
As funny as that is, and so I think those two are more realistic than the Zidanes, Contes of the world that are sort of being touted around and so on. Granted, neither of those two are in a job currently, so there is every chance that hypothetically they could be on the shortlist for the Newcastle manager's job. But then again, this is the real world that we're living in, folks. So
the one thing I can guarantee is that at some point in the next 3 years, Jose Mourinho will be manager of that club, and it will be absolutely hilarious.
Wouldn't be surprised, let's put it that way.
But yeah, I don't know. It's just unrealistic. The football's not the same as what it was when Chelsea got taken over by Abramovich and Man City there wasn't all the financial fair play stuff. Obviously, that's been introduced more recently. So it's not quite as easy as everybody thinks that you can just go and pick.
Exactly. I think
pick everybody.
This could set a bit of a dangerous precedent as well, because you could see they might have sort of taken over the club with the idea that, we'll just sort of spend what we want to make the club as big as we need to be. If they then get to the point where, because it hasn't been explained to them, they need to spend within their means, not their means, as in Newcastle as a club's means, they might get antsy and say, this isn't what we signed up for. We're not doing it that way. We're not going to do it that way, and they just sort of pull the funding. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a queue of people who are willing to buy Newcastle, but there is the possibility that they could, not go under, but they could certainly fall into administration and stuff like that if
they walk away with not paying the wages and stuff. It's a potential disaster.
Yeah. But obviously, with Mr. Ashley being bought out of Newcastle, he's now free to pursue other football clubs who might be on the bones of their arse and in need of financial recompense, which takes us to the East Midlands, I believe, to the latest basket case club known as, in inverted commas, Wayne Rooney's Derby County. So, is that going to happen, do we reckon?
Well, I'd seen something before saying that he hasn't actually approached them yet.
Right.
That's not confirmed. That's been confirmed that he hasn't approached them yet. But it wouldn't surprise me. Now he's got that 300 burning a hole in his big back pocket next to his pies and that. That he's then kind of takes it down there and tries to somehow turn that club round in his own unique way. I don't know. God, I mean, is there a better match for a club and a person?
Well, you say that, but obviously he's got this 300 million that he's got off the Saudi group for the Newcastle purchase. How much in debt are Derby actually? Because no one knows, because their accounts are all over the fucking place. So their debt could be 100 million, 150 million. That'd wipe out the majority of his wealth in one fell swoop. So obviously he's a savvy businessman. He'll do all his due diligence and stuff like that, and he'll obviously not take over the club if there's not a way that he can turn a profit on it. But would he be put off with the idea of being saddled with all the club's debts in the event that he has to take them over and stuff like that. I don't know.
I suppose if he follows his own business model, then he will do his full kind of checks. I mean, like when he bought Newcastle, there was a lot of kind of checks done and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't know. I just think what he achieved with Newcastle, achieve is in like the loosest sense of the word achieve. Doing that with Derby is they're not going to do what he'll want to do is kind of build up again and try and get into the Premier League, because there's not much money in the Championship. That's that you haven't got TV money to kind of balance your books. It's not as much anyway. But they're going to go backwards before they go forwards, and they're going to go backwards a long way. I think if you go in there and you think like, well, okay, then we'll just go down and then we'll come back up again. Speak to Leeds, speak to Forest, speak to Sunderland at the moment. Just as 3 examples of it's not that easy. It's not that easy because you need a whole different kind of squad for it.
Absolutely. Well, if you just look at League One over the last sort of 10 years, there's maybe between sort of 10 and 15 clubs that have been down there that are ex-Premier League teams. You've even got like teams like Bradford who are in League 2 now, Oldham in League 2. Granted, they weren't in the Premier League when there was the money that's there kicking about there now. Swindon, League 2. These are all teams that have had Premier League experience within the last 25 years, and they're now, for want of a better phrase, absolutely on the bones of their arse, aren't they? So it's not always the sort of the sweetness and light that it's sort of like painted to be. That being in the Premier League will solve all your problems and stuff like that. Portsmouth, probably the best example. They were the first ever Premier League club to go into administration, and then obviously they went down the same season Hull did all that time ago, and they've not been able to get themselves back since. And they're sort of just about getting back on an even keel, and they're obviously up towards the top end of League One, but it's still taken them a good 5 or 10 years to sort of get themselves to this particular point. So
just
very with a case for Derby here.
Just very briefly on the Mike Ashley Derby thing. Based on the fact that there is a Sports Direct within 1 minute's walk of the Derby Stadium, how tidy do you reckon that store is at the moment?
Yeah, all the prices will be there. The knockoff Lonsdale trousers and all that kind of thing.
They've mysteriously taken all the stock of Newcastle shirts and put those to the back of the racks. Obviously, it's going to be that thing as well, isn't it? Obviously, tongues will start wagging as soon as the Derby County 2021-22 shirts appear on the racks of every Sports Direct shop in the country. So, but yeah, watch this space.
Anything else news-wise?
I have got one.
Go.
So, I'm just going to read this directly from the Daily Mail. Make of that what you will. History is made as Axel Kai becomes the youngest person ever to appear for a professional sports team in America at just 13 years old, after he makes his debut as a substitute in the United Soccer League. So I'll just show you a picture. So bear in mind, this is a 13-year-old child to all intents and purposes.
Jesus.
That is a big 13-year-old. Wearing the number 85, which is an indication of the year he was born.
The year his dad was born.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, so the youngest professional sportsman ever. I know they had Freddie Adu.
They say Freddie Adu was young,
way back in the day, who was 13. A 13-year-old made history on Friday night, this is last week, as Axel Kai became the youngest person to ever appear for the professional sports team in the United States. Kai came on as a 61st minute substitute for the Real Monarchs during a goalless draw against the Colorado Springs Switchbacks in Friday's United Soccer League clash. His appearance for the side, which is in the second tier of football in America, was at the age of 13 years, 9 months and 9 days.
That's mental.
There you go. 13-year-olds making their debut. Absolutely crazy.
Should be in school.
That must be lowered. That's not obviously MLS then, is it? Is that like their sort of league?
Yeah, that's like the sort of the. I don't know if you'd class it as like a feeder league, I suppose. It's still classed as professional. So.
Yeah, because the Colorado team stick in my mind because of visiting there once, and my lasting thought was, are they playing the same kit as Scunthorpe? Fuck them.
Wow. East Riding shots fired, basically.
On that note, any other news?
Mate.
Lots of shaking heads going on here. So that brings us to the segment where we like to say, is there any other business to take care of whilst we're here? More shaking going on. Well, there we go. Everybody's here this week, and all the games are in the book. All the predictions have been made. The news has been passed to you, dear viewer / listener. I want to thank these gentlemen for being here with me, and certainly with the host, Paul, for the football podcast. One of these days we will maybe even name it. Who knows? Tune in next time to find out. That's it for this week's football podcast. So join us next week, where there'll be news, more game predictions, more checking to see if we can actually predict a football game, and other such things. So then, we say
maybe there'll be another 13-year-old boy who'll make his debut. Who knows?
Maybe Paul might pick a goal scorer.
he just had to, just at the end. Just had to. Couldn't leave it. Couldn't leave it.
Always one in there. He just has to sneak the
He shivved him in the shower, ladies and gents. Right, there we go. That's it. Catch us all next time when there'll be more shots fired. Bye! So there you go, what do you think to that? Another one done. All those games, all of them. Check them out. If you're watching us on YouTube, or if you're listening to us on SoundCloud or iTunes, a subscribe button's there somewhere. Click it and you'll get a prize. You can also jump over to thecookiecast.com. You can check us out over there. It's a little website, but it's got our social media links, our email links, and all of that good stuff. That's it for this one. Till next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then.